Hey there, I'm Dave, climber, setter, and coach here at the Hangout Climbing Center in Duncan, BC. Now, I've been coaching for over 19 years, and in that time, I've watched over 10,000 people learn to climb. And one of the main differences I see between beginner climbers and advanced climbers comes down to three things. Number one, how well they use momentum to move fluidly up the wall. Number two, how well they use their feet to position their body so they can take advantage of the best surface of the hold, even if that hold is not good. And number three, whether or not they can use the wall effectively to generate momentum and not just rely on the holds. So in this video, we're going to talk about those three things. We're going to do it on this overhang behind me, and that way, not only will you become a better climber, you'll become a better overhang climber. Stay tuned, this is going to be a good one. So tip one is how well you can use your hips to generate momentum. We talked about in the last video about moving your hips towards the wall as you reach. And the reason we're doing this is so that you give gravity something to do. If all you do is pull with your arms statically and then try to reach, gravity is constantly pulling you backwards this entire time. It's going to look something like this. I'm going to get myself in position to reach for this higher of the two orange holds, but as I move upwards, as soon as I release, gravity is going to pull me backwards the entire time, just constantly pulling down. But if I give gravity something to do and I swing my hips forward, now gravity has to slow me down to a stop before it pulls me backwards, and that gives me time to reach the hold. Watch the difference. I'm going to be in the same position. I'm going for the same hold, but because instead of just pulling towards the hold, I actually swing my hips backwards, in and then up. It gives me time to grab this hold before I get yanked backwards. And if I do that repeatedly, on each move, that can make the difference between success and failure as I get to the top. I'm just going to have much less strain on my arm, and I'm going to have way more energy at the top of the wall or the end of the climb. Tip two is how well you can keep your hips into the wall. So our first trick was moving with momentum, but now we're going to try to use our feet to pull ourselves and change the position of our hips so that we can change the direction of pull and get better friction on the rocks. In a previous video, I talked about how to hold on to slopers and other positive or not so positive holds. But what happens if you're on an overhang? In this case, you may be able to see this orange hold is here. And if I'm not gripping in with my feet and pulling myself in, it is just way too hard to hold on to that hold. Not without superhuman clamp strength. But let's talk about some tricks, what we can do with our feet. We'll try this a few more times. Probably the easiest way to hold on to a bad hold on the overhang is to use your heel to hook around a hold and pull your hips in this way. And by pulling my hips in, now I change my hips, I change the direction of my torso, and I can change the direction of the force. And so now rather than pull sort of across the sloping edge, I can actually generate force into the flat edge of the hold. And this keeps me on. Now, what happens if you don't have a heel hook? What else can you do? You might try a toe hook. So you might use the top of the toe or the bottom of the toe. And I'll show what that looks like. So option two, if you have it, is to try to find a hold around the corner, especially facing the opposite direction, and use it to pull yourself towards the wall. And by having this foot here, it prevents that swing out like we had before, and that keeps you on the wall. The third way, if you have neither of those, if you just have a small or a flat hold, something like, let's talk about this kind of scooping dish here, this yellow one. I can't toe hook it, I can't really heel hook it from this direction. I'm just going to have to dig my toe in, put extra pressure on the hold, and use that pressure to pull my hips towards the wall. Let's look at that. So I'm up again. I use this yellow hold, maybe this pink hold, I'm going to switch my feet to change my body position. But now I'm using these two yellow holds, and that's what's pulling me towards the wall. It's quite a bit harder. It's much harder than the toe hook or the heel hook, but if I don't have those options, I've got to do it anyways. And this one trick, when I spent a few months on this jumped my climbing 2 grades. I probably went from maxing out at V6 to maxing out at V8. And it was by getting good at towing down on bad holds on an overhang. Really give some practice to this. I promise it'll make a difference. So lastly, one of the biggest mistakes I see new climbers make is when they're on an overhang or any climb, they really just trap themselves mentally into only using the holds of their color. In this case, I'm on a purple climb. I've got my left foot here, my right foot here, and in the effort to bunch up and move over, all of my feet, all of my force is actually driving me away from the next hold. However, if I spread my feet out, just press against the wall and create a lot of inward pressure into that wall, it creates enough friction, spreads me out, and actually generates enough force into the next hold that I can grab it. So when you're practicing this, practice all of these tricks first on easier climbs in your warm-up, so you've got lots of physical and mental space available to concentrate on the move without having fear of falling or, failing. But over time, gradually move it up in difficulty, and if you keep trying hard and you keep staying kind, I can see you at the top. Cheers. Hey guys, I really hope you got a lot of benefit from these videos. If you want to see another video on maybe how to climb the overhang better or how to hold on to bad holds, check out one of these 2 videos. And keep staying kind and keep trying hard so I can see you at the top.